And let's get to Ukraine. Okay, speaking of foreign policy, let me give you the bird's eye view. There is no appetite for conflict with Russia over Ukraine. There is no appetite for defending Ukraine at all. Apparently, that's also true across the damn Atlantic Ocean, if you listen to Vladimir Zelensky's press conference. The bottom line is Western elites are apparently rushing into this thing for their own personal and financial interests, when the people of Ukraine are saying, "Oh, hold up," and the people of America are saying, "Oh, hold up." They don't give a damn. On everything but humanitarian aid, voters are opposed. There is widespread support. If Russia does invade, something happens, there's a humanitarian crisis, fine. Help them out. Americans are very giving, very generous people, but they do not want the U.S. military to interfere in the affairs of Eastern Europe. They do not want the U.S. military being used to aid the Ukrainians against Russia. Not at all. Even when it comes to providing lethal weapons. Combat advisors did a little bit better. Actually, it was about split, but it was very clear. Many people don't know what we're talking about. I'm not saying that in an insulting way at all. That's why you might have seen me tweet out. And when they say advisors, those are combat troops. When they say military advisors, those are ODAs. Those are Green Berets. That's what they do. They go with the indigenous population, teach them how to fight, teach them how to defend themselves, advise them. And guess what happens when it's time? They fight with them and die. They fight and die. If things go bad, it's going bad for them too. That is what an ODA does. That's why the slogan is what it is. The oppresso liber. To liberate the oppressed. Putting U.S. troops on the ground and in combat, nobody wants to do this. Rasmussen found 31. We found 31.8. It's pretty close because it's right. A majority opposes it. And when we look at where the intensity is on this stuff, strongly oppose is the largest category in every single one. 29.3 or about 30% strongly oppose this. Somewhat oppose is another quarter. Only 10% of the country. Only 10%. Let me say this again. 10% of the country actually believes that we should send troops to Ukraine. That's it. That's it. And this time around, by party, Democrats are like 37.4% support it, where independents and Republicans, independents being 24% overall, even somewhat. And third-party voters are at 16%. So you can see why the anti-war candidates are really the future of electoral politics in this country. People are persuadable. There's just 47% of Democrats, of 47.9, oppose doing this. But they're, how many of them are actually going to vote for you? 15% are undecided. If Republicans were smart, they would oppose this with every fiber in their being. Hold on one second. Let me get a quick sip of water. Let me Marco Rubio this puppy for a second. All right, where are we at? Putting U.S. troops on the ground to serve as combat advisors. Like I said, actually pretty tight. Statistically, it's tied. But that's because, again, people really don't know what we're talking about when we say that. They think it's like the Pentagon picking up the phone or something and saying, "Put your soldiers here." Watch out for that cruise missile. Folks, I'm not kidding. They don't know that means teams of special operators. And when it comes down to it, how much do you really want to put on the line? How much do you really want to provoke Russia in defense of Ukraine? Do you support or oppose launching U.S. airstrikes against Russian targets? No. No, it's like negative 35. And in fact, when we look at that, the strongly opposed is almost 4 and 10. Another roughly quarter somewhat oppose it. Strongly support, again, it's identical. 10%, 10.2. It's identical. There's this like 1 out of 10 who strongly support doing this across the board. That's it. The rest of these support numbers, even when they get into the 30s and 40s, are soft. The truth is just the opposition has all of the energy. The opposition has all the momentum. And again, I've never seen in my life a president not make the case for military action, not sell it to the American people. George Herbert Walker Bush, he may have used lies about babies and incubators to do it, but he sold the Gulf War. Johnson may have used the Gulf of Tonkin lie to get involved and escalate Vietnam, but he sold it in the beginning to the American public. Woodrow Wilson, the racist, may have lied about the Lusitania, but he sold it to the American public. And by the way, most recently, George W. Bush may have lied about WMDs, but he still sold it to the American public. Here you have Joe Biden and the Biden administration, according to Vladimir Zelensky, lying about the situation in Ukraine, but he's not really even trying to sell it. It's really something that's incredible. So the U.S. providing military aid, I mean, the airstrikes are very clear. I don't really have to get into detail about that, right? And again, the strongly opposed is like almost, it's 4 and 10, basically. The U.S. military providing lethal aid, weapons, to the Ukrainians is opposed +7. It's actually closer. It's opposed +8 if you do the opposed +8. So, really, when you get down to it, many Americans realize that every time we arm a country, we wind up having those weapons used against us. And furthermore, after Afghanistan, nonetheless, leaving everything behind. Furthermore, in the end, the headline of this poll, all of this needs to be taken into context with the deep trepidation that people feel about the U.S. economy and inflation and shortages and all that comes along with it. Housing prices, gas prices, even taxation at this point rose this month because people are like, look, if inflation's going to rise, you can't burden us with taxes. I mean, is it an issue that people are like jumping up and down to make themselves heard about? No, food and groceries is that problem. Gas prices followed shortly behind. Housing prices, housing and shelter. Those three are the majors. With, by the way, food and groceries being by far the most. But there still is, so Kevin McCarthy shouldn't get it in his head to run on tax cuts. I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying that it typically is in the very low single digits. And now it's cracking, double digits or close to it. And I'll show you that. But again, even 26.2% strongly oppose giving lethal aid to the Ukrainians. Another 2 and 10 somewhat oppose it. When you really only have 14.8% strongly support doing it. And a little bit less than a quarter somewhat support it. So people are opposed to this. This is not close.
Hi folks, Rich Baris, the People's Pundit, host of Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit, and co-host of What Are the Odds with Barnes and Baris. If you liked what the New York Post called above average transparency, then go ahead and like the page, share the videos, and hit that notification bell. It'll let you know when we're going to go live.